Again? We are going through this with the NBA? Again? I guess it wasn't enough to have referees in the NBA fixing games. I guess the Tim Donaghy scandal, which had a devastating impact on the public perception of the league, I guess that scandal wasn't enough. Now we've got players, and I'm not talking about scrubs. I'm not talking about the ninth man coming off the bench. Now we have starting players in the NBA being arrested for fixing games. And we have a head coach in Antifa, Oregon, which used to be known as Portland. We have the head coach of the Jailblazers being arrested for participating in an underground poker game that's connected to the Italian mafia. What the hell's going on with this league? I have been saying this for years. The NBA can't get the hell out of their own way. And in the vast majority of cases, when a cash cow can't get out of their own way, when a cash cow is dropping rancid turds instead of pooping profit, in the vast majority of cases, it stems from weak leadership. And there's just no denying the fact that Adam Silver, one of the weakest commissioners in professional sports. You know, one of the worst mistakes that professional sports leagues have made, and it's not just the leagues, this is also one of the worst mistakes that I think we have made as a country. We have legalized and allowed gambling to ruin sports. This is not hyperbole. Gambling has become an epidemic. I can't remember the exact figures, but something like 80 to 90% of the revenue at sports books, it comes from 10-20% of the players. I know for a fact that was the case when I was working at an online sports book. I have seen what happens to dudes who have the sickness every weekend. Whether it was football in the fall, college basketball in the winter, major tournaments in golf, the World Cup, it didn't matter. Hell, we had dudes who would be betting on Israeli soccer. Every weekend, I would watch high achievers, men making $300,000-$400,000 a year. They'd lose $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in the span of 48 hours. Their wives would desperately reach out to us, begging us to cut them off. And while you feel bad for the wives, you can't really cut off the players because all they're going to do is just go play somewhere else. Eventually, the wives run out of patience. They file for divorce. I've seen accountants, lawyers, file for bankruptcy. I remember we had a psychiatrist, someone responsible for treating mental health. He worked at a major university in the SEC. This dude is treating patients during the day, losing thousands and thousands of dollars every night. You know, for most people, gambling is just a hobby. For most people, gambling is no big deal. I bet the NFL every Sunday. I play a little bit in college football. If I lose $300-$400 in a weekend, who cares? I'm playing for fun. But there is a growing number who have become down with the sickness. And if you're a professional sports league, the only policy for gambling, and I mean the only policy, is to not allow it to begin with. You can't be associated with it. You can't allow sports books to sponsor your league. And you damn sure can't allow coaches, players, or anyone associated with the league. I don't care if it's the boy who was scrubbing sweat off the court during timeouts. You can't have anyone employed by the league associated with gambling. Unfortunately, professional sports have embraced gambling, and what we saw this morning, these are the consequences. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Earlier this morning, The FBI arrested Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier. They're part of a gambling investigation with ties to the Italian mafia. Now, Chauncey Billups, he is being accused of participating in an illegal poker game. Why? Why in the hell is a head coach in the NBA playing in an underground poker game? If you wanted to play poker, why didn't you just take your ass to the casino? I've been to a lot of casinos in my life. Every casino I have been to, they're all the exact same. I walk into the casino and there are slot machines. I walk towards the back or maybe get on the escalator to the second floor. And you know what there is behind plated glass? Poker tables. So why is a head coach in the NBA involving himself with an illegal poker game? Someone please make it make sense. Unfortunately for the NBA, the charges against Terry Rozier are significantly worse. This is a serious problem for the league. March of 2023, Hornets are playing the Pelicans. Now at the time, Terry Rozier was playing in Charlotte. Before the game, sports books in multiple states reported unusual action on Terry Rozier's prop lines. In less than an hour, they received 30 bets totaling over $13,000 on Terry Rozier to go under, I think it was his PRA, which stands for points, rebounds, and assists. For example, let's say the line for Terry Rozier was 10.5. The bets on the under, they were saying that he would have under 10.5 combined points, rebounds, and assists, which is exactly what happened because Terry Rozier pulled himself out of the game with a mysterious injury 10 minutes into the game. Last year, when he was playing with the Heat, Terry Rozier had a bad game. Check it out for yourself. We have a veteran NBA player who has suddenly forgotten how to dribble, and he's suddenly forgotten how to make a simple, uncontested pass. For years, fans have been complaining about NBA games being rigged. Well, here we are again with the proof. And the problem is, I don't know if there is a solution to the problem. When I started gambling when I was 16, you had to call a bookie to place your bets. Back then, fixing games wasn't really a concern at the professional level because players were making too much money. If the mafia wanted to fix games, they would target referees or they would target college players, which is exactly what Henry Hill did with players at Boston College back in the 1980s. Back then, we were betting point spreads or over-unders. Today, gambling is far too accessible. The only thing stopping you from placing bets is a lost internet connection. You literally have dudes live betting props by the minute. A couple of weeks ago, Paolo Banchero from the Orlando Magic, he was being hassled by a fan during a game because he wasn't going over his point total. This happened during the preseason. People are betting on props in games that literally do not count. I remember when all the leagues announced that they were going to embrace gambling. I remember the excuses that they used to justify their decision. Oh, if we embrace gambling, it will be easier to regulate. You really think these billion-dollar sports books weren't already regulating it? Even when it was illegal, you really think the books weren't regulating it? The problem now is there's just too many options. It's damn near impossible to regulate it. In a single NBA game, you could have 500 different available wagers. You would think with NBA players making tens of millions of dollars, you would think that would be enough of a deterrent to prevent them from fixing games. Last year, Terry Rozier made $25 million. What the hell's he doing betting $13,000 on a prop bet in a game? He makes $305,000 a game. What is he going to do with an extra 13 grand? I'm sure some of you might be thinking, well, it's just one player, it's just one coach, it's not like this is an epidemic throughout the league. For starters, we now have 4 players and coaches involved. Last year, Jonte Porter, he was kicked out of the NBA for gambling on himself. But these are just the 4 that we know about. These are just the 4 who have been caught. But let's just assume for a second that this is a one-off. Let's assume for a second that these are the only 4 involved. From a PR perspective, it doesn't matter. The integrity of the league has been tarnished. Every time a referee makes a mistake or a bad call, there will be questions. Every time a player misses a wide open layup, people will wonder if it was intentional. Every time a coach refuses to call a timeout when their opponent goes on a 19-0 run, fans will wonder if the coach bet on the game. There's just nothing good that comes from gambling in sports. Gambling is ruining sports. You can't watch a damn game without being bombarded with gambling ads. We're in the second quarter. The over-under has dropped 10 points from the opening line. Take advantage now at FanDuel.com. Thing is, I don't think the NBA cares. They're making, I think it's around $200 million a year from gambling sponsorships. And these are sponsorships that they don't even need because they're receiving 10 times that amount from the networks. The NBA is receiving billions of dollars every year from the television networks. But as is always the case, greed clouded their judgment. They are exploiting fans every way they can. For most people, tickets to NBA games are prohibitively expensive. It costs the average fan hundreds of dollars every year to watch the NBA on television. And now, they're taking your money by encouraging you to bet. You can bet $5 and win $500,000. Isn't that great? Let me tell you something. You will never, and I mean never, beat the books. Have you ever seen a sports book go bankrupt? Have you ever wondered why casinos look like presidential palaces? They built all of that. They bought that $1 million chandelier with your money. Like I said, I think the biggest problem for the NBA and the rest of these professional sports leagues, I think the biggest problem is there's no solution to the problem. Outside of the federal government making it illegal, which ain't going to happen, outside of that, I don't know how the NBA solves the problem. I don't know how they control this. I don't know how you regulate it. I don't know how you can prevent players from fixing games. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.